Hey guys, what's going on? Shaw here. Super late night key review again. I just finished my stream. I was streaming for a few hours, roughly about four and a half. We actually decided to actually push some keys tonight, so we just timed a 19 Grimrail depot, and this has been a key that a lot of groups have been struggling with, and mainly because of the last boss, but I also want to talk about some few other pain points in the dungeon. This wasn't by any means a perfect run. I was playing Guardian Druid with Frost Mage, Demo Lock, Holy Priest, and a Demon Hunter, and I want to kind of talk about our different builds that we ended up using throughout the key, kind of our general strategy, what things to kind of watch out for, as well as any mistakes that I might have made. So I'm going to be kind of critiquing myself as well as our group throughout this run. We did time this with a couple of minutes left, I think 3 or 4 minutes, so hopefully you guys enjoy. Now, Grimrail Depot, I've been just saying it oddly because I think it's funny, but it's been a key that a lot of groups have been struggling with, mainly because of the last boss. I think most people have a fairly good understanding about how the fight works, but I want to kind of walk through my own thought process. If I do get anything wrong, please correct me down in the comments below, because there's some things that I might see that I assume, because the way that it might interact with my character or my group might be actually different from how it actually interacts in the game. So let me know. I'm still trying to learn, and it's a pretty good run. So this is Guardian Druid, and let's just kind of jump right in here. So now, the first couple of trash pulls in this dungeon are a little scary. Trash in this place also, if you hold W and pull everything in here, you'll end up with about 110% count, which puts you 10% over. So we want to avoid what we can and really try to get out and onto the first boss as quickly as possible so we can optimize our lusts for this key. So very first pull, what I'm doing is I'm actually moving back and LOSing around this corner here. They don't really respect the line of sight rules, as you can see, and we're making sure that we're kicking that 50,000 volts. It does a group. It targets 3 random people, and it will stun all 3 of those players for a couple of seconds, and it does a good bit of damage. It can be spell reflected, for example, on my warrior. I figured that out, and then he keeps trying to activate this bomb. If he activates the bomb, it should kill everyone in front of it, but it'll also do a ton of group damage when it actually hits a wall. So what we're doing here is we're just constantly CCing, and our DH actually ran out to change a talent. So this is actually where we ended up messing up. So the DH messed up this talent, and because of my cash trinket here, I really wanted to do a big pull next with cash and incarn, but unfortunately I wasn't able to do that. So what I end up doing is I mark purple because that's the pack that we're avoiding. So what we're doing is we're actually mind soothing these couple of targets, and we're going to be pulling over to the X marker. I was able to set up this marker before the dungeon actually started. That's why you're not seeing me place it down now, because it was already there. And we are now just pulling actually everything onto this part. We have both meta and incarn active. Now, unfortunately, I did lose thread on pull here because I didn't have barkskin, so I had to commit the incarnation, and I wasn't able to use cash. So I don't remember if I just hit cash. I think I hit cash late here, and I just wait for bleed to come up. If you're not pairing bleed with incarn, the cash trinket with incarn, you're kind of messing it up. Outside of incarn, we don't have a ton of crit, so the ability to apply applications actually diminishes as you end your incarn. So I end up using it. You can see my DPS that was just skyrocketing. I'm sitting at 50k. This was not with incarn. This was with incarn, and now cash being chained in later after incarn fades. Now the scary part about doing this pull here in this corner is going to be the frontal from the Nathrezim kind of fades out. So ideally what we should have done here is our range should have baited on this side, and then when the frontal for sure aims this way, the range can then move over here. So I think we had a few people get hit earlier, but it wasn't anything catastrophic. And then we're baiting these dashes in the wall, hence why I'm in this corner. If you just stand in this corner, the mobs will stay nice and stacked. Now there is one technician again, or whatever they're called, that do this 50,000 volts plus the activate. Pretty easy just to make sure you get kicks. Now, weird thing here, I didn't tag Borka, the giant brute. I ended up tagging Rocketspark. I have threats, but he still meleeed the DH. So this was a strange interaction. We ended up having to use our battle res here, which was not good. So I tag with Moonfire. I'm looking at the brute. I click on brute. He's targeting me. Everything's indicating that I have threat. And then he just runs up and slaps my DH, follows it with a slam, and my DH dies immediately. So we end up getting a battle res here. Our lock also tried to cheese by sitting in one of those rockets. No, do it, or at least pop on Ning Resolve. Now the name of the game here is just cleave as evenly as possible. You want these guys to die pretty much at the exact same time, because one of them will enrage when the other one dies. So if they're kind of far apart and you don't have a lot of group damage, you end up actually just like we did this on a 20 a night or two ago, and we got stuck on the last boss. But on this boss in particular, in that 20, the brute got enraged, he did a slam, and it like killed everyone. So we're going to try to keep them stacked as best we can, but we're not going to make it a priority. We just need to make sure the DPS are understanding where they need to put their damage. So we're having our range hit Rocketspark, and we're having our melee hit the brute. Is kind of like the name of the game that we're playing, because you still need efficient damage on both. Yes, Rocketspark will take increased damage during the windows when he's knocked down, but sometimes you might not have CDs up for that point, or your group's not ready, or they might get kicked. Like we were getting on, our lock got kicked on like every Quaking and every slam cast on this fight, so it's pretty rough. So trying to keep the bosses pretty close for just general cleave here, now that that burn phase is going, and we're going to continue onwards. Now, I've seen a lot of kind of like mixed thoughts about where you should be, how tanks should position the brute. Now, he does do he will fully charge the wall, so you could actually stand away. So I'm waiting for Rocketspark to jump back up on top of one of these like shelving units. You could keep him here and just aim him at Rocketspark, but the danger of that for range and melee in between, they will probably die. But also, it doesn't do a lot of damage here. So here comes Mad Dash, and I mean, it does group damage, so you're really just taking the damage from like the AoE of him colliding with the crates. So this is pretty easy. Slams, you just want to make sure you're not casting. Obviously, as a tank player, you typically aren't, but you do need to be careful if you're playing, like, for example, like a Necrolord. So warriors, don't be channeling Fleshcraft when he does that, because you'll get locked. Not that the lock really matters, but it will interrupt your Fleshcraft channel. I do start taking kind of a dicking here, and our healer at this point was like, guys, I'm and we're like, we still got 40% of this boss to go. So you need to kind of figure out what you need to do here. So I end up using an agility pop with the Incarn. We're going to wait for the cash to come up, and we're going to help finish off this fight. This is perfect for the burn phase as well. Incarn does a ton of damage here. You can see my Thrash is hitting for like 6k, 7k. And I'm just critting like crazy, reapplying my bleed. And we're just standing here. So we're just kind of mailing me in the back. I could probably do a better job at facing, like not getting meleeed in the back. I'm sitting sideways for a lot of reasons. A lot of bears, because we can't dodge from behind and we don't have the ability to block or parry. Facing sideways is your best bet whenever you're cutting any kind of mob, whether it's a tank or, you know, just trash mobs, because the way that it works, it's like a 180 degree cone. I can't do that with my hands. Let's just do that. It's like a 180 degree cone. So if things are on the side of you, you can still dodge. And now we're just basically cleaving. I'm keeping them apart, and we're calling out what targets to swap to. I'm moving them a little closer, so now everyone's going to be going on the brute, and we're cleaving off onto Rocketspark if possible. She's going to jump away. He's going to jump away, and they're about 100k apart, 70k apart. He's going to rage. Luckily, we don't get a slam. Our luck did go down at some point. I didn't see what he died to. I think he might have he's probably died to just bleed out. And that's it. Pretty simple fight. It is a lot of damage, and your priest kind of, or not priest, but your healer has to be kind of ready. Look at this, like 11.2k HPS. That's nothing insane. SacP did an incredible job this key. He isn't a Holy Priest main. Actually, this is his very first night playing Holy in push keys. He's normally a Shadow Priest player, so he has an understanding about how the class works, how the spec works, how these dungeons work, but healing is a totally different ballgame, especially in a dungeon like this. So we decided to pull just the Infiltrator behind. You can just tag it, bring it out, kill it. With the lack of CDs, we decided to just keep him by himself until we have at least like Tyrant and stuff rolling. So now we have Tyrant for Zolgamax, and this is where Guardian Druids really struggle, because the lack of our single target damage gets really bad here. So we're gonna make sure we gotta CC these bats. You can just do this. Druids can do this with Roar. You can do it with Hibernate, and you can do it if you're playing Big Cow like I am. You can do it with War Stomp. So we're letting our DH kick these for extra fury, just for extra damage. Now, one thing I do want to point out in this dungeon, especially on high Tyrannical weeks, is the name of the game is survivability. These bosses, if you you're able to do kind of just the rotation of their mechanics, survivability is the name of the game. If you can see, actually, our Demon Hunter is actually playing Necrolord. And the reason he's playing Necrolord is because of Fleshcraft and a lot of the survivability traits that Marileth offers, which is the first Soulbind tree you can have access to as a Necrolord. So really, really good here. So most of our group is just built out for pure tankiness. The only one who's not is going to be our priest, who is rocking a good bit of versatility if I'm not mistaken, but he is playing Kyrian, which leaves him a little bit more vulnerable to a lot of this bigger damage. So again, this guy is just a slog. I'm not a fan of this mini boss. In most dungeons, you try to skip this guy if you can. Unfortunately, in this dungeon, you have to pull him. So now I see that I have Incarn up. I'm going to have Cash in a few seconds. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to drag actually both of these guys up to the top. If you don't have CDs as a tanker, you have no way to really remove the bleeds, which of course Kyrian players can. You can actually do it one at a time if you need. Quaking is so troll here, man. These set of affixes that they gave us this week were Blizzard must hate players. I don't think they changed the rotation. I think this was supposed to be the week we were supposed to see, but man, it's not a good feeling when you have to play a Quaking Inspiring in new dungeons you've never seen before. So yeah, Kyrian File will remove these bleeds. This is a stacking debuff here, you can see. This means we're taking more damage from these bleed applications. So you always want to finish off the low one if you can. I now have 7 stacks. This just keeps going up and up, but now we're only going to get 1 bleed app instead of 2 because the other guy died. Finishing this, we're looking real juicy, and we're going to head down to the train. Now there's a Twitch comment from Brob. What's up, Brob? You asked me, or you were wondering why no Incarn on train. It's because for Guardian Druids, the only thing we really have going for us is our damage. As you can see down here, I'm doing 12.5k overall, right behind the DH and a little bit behind the other DPS. The name of the game is use Incarn as often as possible. Threat gets a little weird here. I'm standing in Shrapnel Blast. This is definitely a mistake that I made, and I need to fix this. I fix it on future pulls, but you want to aim the frontal away, but you also want to step out of it. And it's a very fast cast, and it channels for a few seconds, for about 2 seconds or so. And you can see a stacking debuff, which makes you take more damage from it, or fire damage. We also had a pool from the Nathrazim in melee, so that was kind of annoying to deal with here. So the Shrapnel Blasts were pretty clean, but I had to move through it because, again, we're limited on our space here with the Nathrazim and, of course, Quaking. So yeah, but we just want Incarn for more pulls, so we're going to have access to Incarn in pretty much like a lot of the other pulls going forward. Another big thing that bears really struggle with right now, and I'm going to have to do a whole video on this because I can go on for days, but bears are not in a great spot right now, and they probably won't ever be, even with increased item levels and stuff. It's just because the Nathrazim leech from hitting you, and bears have the least amount of defensive in the game, so we can't really negate a lot of that damage, and therefore they heal a bunch, and therefore that's wasted DPS, or it's more time spending per pull to kill Nathrazim. So right here we have Lava Wreath, and then the infantry, and just 1 Grenadier. So this is just a pull where if you kind of just start running back. I don't like really standing there. You can see the giant AoE on the ground there. It's kind of hard to see because of this like beam, but there's a giant fire pool right here that if you're standing in, you'll probably perish in a key like this, or on Fort Weeks. So we're now kind of just walking it back. Now the one thing we did need to be careful of is like Nathrazim frontal, but outside of that, these Grenadiers, not too scary. The Cinder Seer is a little bit scary, but we've already moved out of the only threatening mechanic they cast, so we are the big chill. And now I'm pulling this back, and we get a Quaking right here, so I'm going to tuck into this corner. And I'm pulling back is because it's very possible for you to accidentally pull the next pack, or the entire car, which I've seen in some pugs, which is just obviously a big shit show. So right here, I'm doing a little bit better job with the Shrapnel Blasts. You're just sidestepping as soon as these come out. This is going to save you a ton of defensive abilities in your kit. This, I got knocked up behind these like coffin things, and I was stuck. So I tried to get out again, while also maintaining the frontal to be in, one given direction. And pretty clean, we get the GS there. We were probably fine, especially because things were dying. And now we're going to have Incarn in a few seconds to just get some real juice damage here. So we're going to tag the Nathrazim. We're going to move up slightly and then wait for the Brute to stop moving before we tag him. He stopped moving. I'm going to pull him. We're popping Incarnation. And we are really just going to kind of sit here with Incarn up because we just, again, Venthyr Incarn with Cash and everything. We're just going to start annihilating this pull. I don't know why my damage details meters is like still saying I'm like doing no damage though. It like chained from the last pull or something. So we're just cruising. Now this giant Hulk, it needs to be soothed. The stacks go up very, very, very fast. But as long as you have like a rogue, a druid, a hunter on it, it's pretty safe. It's just like any enrage mob. You want to enrage them, if they're anything above 10 plus stacks, you should be fine to soothe them on. It'll pretty much be on cooldown though. When they hit 10 stacks, soothe them and then on cooldown. is probably the best way I would say it. So right here, you'll see actually 2 of these giant wreaths here. We don't want to send any of these, so melee. So melee, we're baiting here. We back up in between the 2. Range, we're baiting back here, and now we're standing in between. If we get another set, we're going to be kind of screwed here, but I don't think we end up getting one. And then the shrapnel blast. Essentially, all I'm doing is I'm backing down the cart, staying on one side. So all my DPS are going to be on kind of this side of the cart as I kite. I'm going to be on this side so they don't get hit by shrapnel blast. Pretty kind of simple logic. That's very standard, like, tank kiting maneuver when it comes to frontal abilities like this. Just don't ever stand on the tank. It's pretty much the name of the game. So this pull goes down actually pretty easily, and then we're going to go into boss, I think, next. So our next boss was kind of rough. We had a lot of kind of like duh moments where people weren't picking up items. I also jumped in, and it takes you out of bear form, which is another huge complaint. What the fuck, Blizzard? So like a lot of tanks can just like pick up the weapon stuff that's on the ground from these ads and jump in the cannon and just do the thing and hold thread and not die. Bears, you are out of bear form and you die. I almost died here. It was a GS on me plus proc. I had to get out immediately and instantly pop survival instincts or something like that. Like, ridiculous. So now something we definitely could have done is we probably could have lusted here to get it like a good solid burn, but we ended up holding lust for the last boss. I don't know why we held lust here. We got to the last boss with about 6.5 minutes left, 7 minutes. Maybe we do end up lusting? I don't remember. I don't think so. No, now I'm thinking about it, I feel like we lost at some point. I just don't know where. And now I'm putting down this green marker here so we know at what lane to move to. So green is going to be the furthest back, and then we're going to have a purple being a 1 lane up. And then this guy phases at 60%. He'll jump over, he'll go. Now, if you ever get marked with a skull, I think DBM automatically marks players with skull in this key. Maybe it's another add-on that I have, but... So QB's being targeted right now. He has the eyes over his head. He has to stay LOS. So he's staying back there. I'm putting purple here. This is where we're going to be moving up to. We got to be careful of Quaking. And then these ads are going to start spawning. Now, these ads are insanely annoying, especially when you don't have an MD in your group. And we're going to just try to keep them stacked so we're not getting blown all the time, but we're going to end up actually, I think, in this run in particular, we just stand on this platform. Our priest goes down immediately because he didn't LOS. Which, like, looking at this, it looks like he was LOS, but it must have, like, clipped off and cleaved him or something, but... That is going to be our second battle res of the key and our only available battle res here. So I'm going to get him up, and then fire, I think, is going to spawn almost immediately. I feel like it spawns soon. So this fight's really weird. So as you kill ads, depending on the ad type, basically based on their names, right? So you have the grenadiers, the infantry, and then the gunner. So the gunners drop shrapnel blasts. The bombardiers, they drop the big shrapnel bombs, and the infantry, I think, are just ads that you have to kill. I might be wrong about that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's it. Infantry don't really do much. So the idea is you want to bring in these bombardiers and then just start fucking firing away at the boss. You want to get him down. We have one shot so far at 67. Now it also depends on who's being targeted. So right there, we just LOS some of their shots. We had a grenade go down. I think I lost threat because of it. And we're going to just, again, you're kind of dancing back and forth. Now, the one thing that we did notice in this key, and I think something that we're going to brew on in the future, is that each mortal shell that hits the boss, you can do this by picking it up, getting in the cannon, and aiming it at the boss, is that each shot does 33%. That means you have to do 1% of damage to him. So I jumped in here, and I started taking big damage because I wasn't in bear form. And I ended up trying to do it again, and it doesn't work because I picked up one of the pyroblast bomb things to do damage to him, and I literally couldn't use it. So we could have been so much faster here. And it's not going off. Okay, it finally went off. I exit. GS procs on me, keeps me alive, and we're just fucking scared, man. So you can see now he's at 1%. He has about 80k on this difficulty. We should have been using something on him to get him down that extra 1%. If you have a DPS who can do that, have them run up, apply some dots, whatever they can, but they have to be pretty smart about it. So we're going to get some kind of like ad overrun here. This is not how you should do the fight, by the way. We messed up. We should have had this guy out of the cannon already. No one has a shell, so we're kind of just waiting to kill another bombardier. And a lot of us have shrapnels, but like I have 15 shrapnel, but I'm not going to be able to use it because, well, I'm a bear. And I can't get into the cannon without getting out of bear form, which means I'm going to die. So we're pretty much kind of out of luck here. So we're killing some of these bombardiers, which is good. We have to move back because of the fire, though. And now at this point, this fight has already gone on way too long. If you're very, very clean about this fight, you can get done pretty quickly. You can get him out of the cannon pretty fast, and you can just blow him up. So we finally got the shot, I think, soon. So it looks like QB has it, so our DH is getting in. He's going to shoot. Kalea runs up. So our mage runs up to try to just break him out. I don't know the logic here. During the key, I was kind of saying, like, we need to break him out. We need to do damage to him. So she was targeted, but then she decides to just run up, blink, and start throwing ice lances and then die. So this looked really funny. Not the move, girl. Not the move. And then at the very end, we're just going to kind of drag him back. We don't have a battle res for him. We do have shrapnels, though. So these shrapnels are actually going to start nuking the boss, but it's a very short range. So if someone jumps in the cannon like QB's doing here, bring the boss nice and close, and you should get some pretty good damage onto him. And then our Lock got his Tyrant out, and then he's going to jump into this cannon here. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to start dragging this boss all the way over to the cannon to make sure that we can land these shots and get some good damage onto him. So once you get through that phase, getting him out of his own cannon, it's pretty much a free fight. But until that point, it's a little bit of a hassle. I'm gonna have to do a full boss guide on this fight, so we'll have to see in the near future. But same thing, QB jumps back in, he does the mortar here. We still have more shrapnels on the ground if we wanted to, and then boss is done. We are 19% off with about a little under 12 minutes left. So we are looking pretty juiced right now. So we spent about 45 minutes in this key yesterday or 2 days ago, nailing our heads against this last boss, just practicing, figuring out a strat. Since we started running Grimrail, they fixed, or at least we think that they fixed the LOS, not the LOS strat, but like the Z-axis strat. So we're waiting on our mage to get back, so what we're going to do is we're going to pull this here. This Storm Shield is the only thing that matters. If you don't kick Storm Shield, you will wipe. Thunder Zone is just a little AoE in the ground. You just want to move from it. Good move here. I love how I'm complimenting myself. Good move. Good move. And because we're down on DPS, we're just really focusing on making sure that we are... excuse me. I gotta stop doing these so late, man. We are trying to keep this nice and slow. Someone accidentally moved forward a little bit, pulled the Nathers in. And then unfortunately, another thing happens here. Is that I think our priest moves forward a little bit. You can see him standing right here. And I think this is going to end up pulling. Or maybe that's what ended up pulling the Nathers in. I can't remember. Priest accidentally body pulled. So I'm going to pop Incarn here in a second. And we're going to just kind of start blowing up the rest of this room. Now there is 2 seers in here. So here's the other one right next to this inspired mob. I'm going to root this loader so he stays out of combat. Or not out of combat, but out of range. And we're going to pull the seer in by itself. And we're going to do that right about now. So we're going to group coming with us. I'm going to pop Incard. I'm going to pop Bleed. And then we're just going to start just mowing these guys down. The only thing, again, once again, Seer, we set focus to it to make sure that it's being kicked. And it should only require 1 melee kick. So it's about a 15-second internal cooldown. So you kick it once. That same melee DPS can just have it set focus. And they can just kick it every time. Storm Shield goes off, we kill it there. Last but not least, we have 2 loaders. The Seer did die, so we no longer need kicks, which is perfect. And now we're just kind of chilling. So we're about to go into the last boss. We have less available. We have all our trash. We're actually going to be 5% over, so we probably could skip a little bit more if we really, really wanted to. But we're going to figure that out later. We also actually plan on pushing with a rogue in the future, so we're going to actually be able to actually use and implement some shroud skips. But we are sitting real healthy with 9 minutes left. We have Lust available. We have Boon in 20. We have Deathborn. We have Frozen Orb in 10. We have Meta available. We have Tyrant available. We have everything. So basically what we're doing now is we're just like kind of like talking about just, hey, reminder, this X, Y, and Z. This is what we need to do. Dodge, focus on these little mechanics. And there is a lot of hot debate right now between pulling or lusting on pull or lusting at 50%. We lust on pull because what a lot of groups end up doing is the tank ends up soloing it because the tank is the only one who can really survive all these hits, because not sure if it's overtuned and we're under geared or what. But what I'm doing now is I meant to do this before the pull, but I'm putting down markers so I can call out which kind of direction the spear is facing so people have a general idea. Sometimes I'll call out the player, or I'll just say it's safe. So if, for example, if this spear is going to target me, I'm going to just say, targeting me, you guys are safe. So it's facing the edge. Almost every ability in this fight aka the traps or the spears are going to one-shot you. This is what the trap looks like right here. The trap will root everyone within 6 yards, and on top of that, it'll also do a burst of AoE damage. So if anyone steps in it, you're typically going to be taking a bit of group damage if anyone's nearby. So, gotta be really careful. Our range are back towards X, and they're kind of staying close together, so if I call out X, they can both strafe to either side and be safe. And then our priest came into melee. This is a weird spot to be, mainly because the melee are trying to bait away from the range groups, but now that the melee is behind the range, it limits our ability to kind of like center ourselves around the boss with Quaking and also these effects that are, you know, this lightning on the ground. So spear was at me at the edge. It's typically trap, and then shortly after the trap, it's going to be breath and spear at the same time. And that's why it gets really hectic, because a lot of people focus on the spear, or they focus on the lightning, and then they don't notice the spear going off. So it's really important to not be where you were or where anyone else was. So I'm dodging spear. I'm going around the long way. I'll take the extra tick if I get it. And now that we're chilling here, I'm going to end up popping Incarn with Cash in about 1 second. I pop my agility pot, and we're ready to go. We need to be careful of this trap in melee, but we're looking pretty good. Don't let this fool you. We're looking strong, but it's going to go to shit really quick. So a spear went off there. We had our mage bleed out because of the debuff. She did have altar, block, and mirror image all available, so that's definitely on her. She had tons of defensives to use. We need to be careful of this trap behind us as well. And our priest died to something I don't remember. It might have been a spear. So spear then went out towards blue. So without a healer up, we're kind of scared, but we do have 1 battle res available. So trap goes out on me. I back up a little bit. I wait for Quaking. I battle res sack P, our healer. He gets up, steps in the trap immediately. He roots our DH. Spear is targeting our priest, and they both go down with 5% remaining. So at this point, we don't have a res, so what we're really just focusing on is making sure that Pika stays alive, which he steps in a fucking trap in the last little bit of the fight. He gets all his imps rooted, and it's fine. It expires right when spear goes out. He moves, breath comes out. I don't know what defensive he commits here. I don't think he commits anything. He soul shapes out, and now we're just kind of positioning ourselves in a safe spot where we're taking minimal damage. He moves in, and now we're stacked to bait spear. We spread, and the boss goes down with 5 minutes left on a 19 Tyrannical Grimrail depot. So that is the key. Fortunately, no loot, I don't think. So I wasn't really focused too much on my own gameplay. They're like, oh, did I have iron for up? When did I use my CDs? Because this is a dungeon that I've, despite not running too many times, I've definitely scripted out a lot in my head and for different pulls. And you really just, in a key like this as a bear, you just want to get as much damage as possible. So Incarn on the rip, pair it with Cash. That's kind of what I've been doing in most of my keys. There are a lot of Guardian Druid. There's a lot of Guardian Druid information out there right now. There's a lot of different covenants you can possibly play. Guardian Druid's not in a good spot. I'm gonna have to do a rant on this later because this video will end up being 9 years long. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any questions or any corrections about how I did things, let me know in the comments below. Again, don't be a dick or I will ban you. So hope you guys enjoyed. Good luck the remainder of this week. I have a bunch of guides. If you want to see me do this stuff live on stream, you can always check me out. The description will be below. So hope you guys are staying happy, healthy, and I will catch you all in the next one. Take care.